Put it past them.
Yeah,
I mean, there's definitely
I
things
was
that you're not
thinking
going to
that
learn about there, but they're.
it's brought into there because that's always a common stereotype.
Anyway, right before we get back to the subject at hand, we just want to confirm this from an Egyptologist. Like, the Library of Alexandria was not burned by Christians, correct? And Hypatia's death had little to no connection with that.
Oh, was Hypatia's death connected with the
With the
burning of?
Library of
Is
Alexandria.
it supposed to have been?
That's the propaganda. That's New Atheist propaganda. Like the big bad Christians rose up and burned the Library of Alexandria, and
Oh man, the Alexandrian Christians were horrible pieces of shit. They were some of the worst human beings that have ever
yeah,
walked
but
the face of
it's
the
not
earth.
it's not because they hated learning. It's because they didn't burn down the library, but they
No, it's because they were
it,
evil,
yeah
cynical losers who just wanted to destroy things because they felt that life had mistreated them. And they saw an opportunity in this new religion
and
to assert themselves.
they mainly scourged Hypatia because she picked the wrong political opponent to ally with.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
it's
not
politics.
because she was
It's
not
like
because she was a scholar or anything like that.
No, I don't think so. So I actually wrote a paper about that. It's dealing with slightly later period, but I looked for the presence of this anti-intellectual mentality that we associate with American Christianity. I looked for that in the arrival of Christianity in Egypt and just didn't find any evidence for it at all. It's just really it was just not the same thing, and equating them is just false. They just are not the same political movement. They have their similarities. I think there's a strong similarity in terms of small-mindedness and cynicism and a victimhood complex and all of these things that sort of dominate American Christian rhetoric. But the anti-intellectualism really is an American phenomenon, and it's a result of a complex constellation of things. Hofstadter's anti-intellectualism in American life is the go-to read about that. And he writes it as an academic. Of course, academics are very critical of anti-intellectualism. It's kind of the other side of the fence from our perspective. But I found a lot in there to sympathize with. So he talks a lot about the Enlightenment and kind of the rejection of priesthood, the rejection of hereditary nobility, and all of these principles of liberty and meritocracy that were at the center of the American Revolution. And I think all those things are valuable. And the fact that they're connected to a rejection of expertise, I think it's just a bit of a political pendulum.
And just so we're clear, when you say American Christianity, you mean fundamental Protestant
Yeah.
loud minority, right?
Yeah, I mean exactly, this vocal minority of fundamentalist evangelical Christians. That's where anti-intellectualism got its start in these
Wish
kind of.
wish they would just go away. Like you see this with like that could be compared to like these people that were formerly oppressed and end up becoming no better than their former oppressors. That could be compared to new atheists slash anti-theists today who mostly grew up in that fundagelical environment and want to take their revenge on the world.
Oh yeah, and I mean you see it a lot. Whenever I talk to New Testament scholars, because that's something I studied in undergrad. I studied classics, and I studied the New Testament essentially, like as an undergrad. So I'm not like a super expert in it or anything, but um, I'll still talk to New Testament scholars, and I have found in my experience that there are basically two main camps of New Testament scholars. There are like Christian apologists, who I normally get along with pretty well because they tend to be just like nice, normal people, and the anti-Christian atheists who you just can't even have a reasonable conversation with because they are so dogmatic in their hatred of Christianity. And I get it. I mean, I grew up in a Christian environment. I'm not a big fan of Christianity myself, but I just don't share their sort of deep-seated hatred. They're really. I mean, all of these extremist points of view are are just exhausting.
Like, you're not a fan of historical Christianity and what it's become, not what it originally was.
Um, I
Like,
have different feelings.
like,
Christianity is such a complex
like
entity.
loving your enemy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a nice idea. I think the Jesus of um, let's say just ordinary, sane American Christianity, the Jesus that those people believe in is probably the nicest guy in the whole world. He doesn't look at all like the Jesus of the New Testament. The Jesus of the New Testament is a mentally ill hippie who's trying to start a countercultural revolution. He is not a sympathetic figure at all. He's very witty and very clever, and he's a manipulative narcissist. So he's basically a cult leader. I don't admire that figure at all. There's nothing admirable about him. That's not the Jesus that most modern moderate Christians worship, though. So I can respect their uh, I can respect the appeal they see of this figure that they value, even though he looks nothing like the historic person. Um, so yeah, I have complicated feelings about Christianity. Kind of depends more on the Christian than anything else, actually.
Yeah,